about Illuminati, since the charting upbeat ducks. Is it Disney mind control? Is this MK Ultra Deluxe? Occult Disney, go wish upon a star. Occult Disney, should know about to chat far. Occult Disney, Pineal Gland, Pinocchio. Occult Disney, as above, so below. Pinocchio seeks fun on Pleasure Island, where traffickers meet just fallen minds. Captain Hook, a lost boy in Neverland, saving kids from Peter Pan's designs. Nemo feels to survive the Barracuda, and that nobody needs no one. Snow White never took another breath. Bird Prince, the angel of death has come. Occult Disney, we go from real to real. Occult Disney, Bohemian Grove and no more real. Occult Disney, ask about to Illuminati. Occult Disney, we teach occult to everybody. Occult Disney, go wish upon a star. Occult Disney, you know not to travel far. Oh, Occult Disney, the new brand Pinocchio. Yeah, yeah. Occult Disney, it's above so below. Occult Disney, please enjoy the show.
We are rolling, yes. Hello. It's the Occult Disney podcast. We've stopped being dark now. We're being light. This is Matt here, bouncing around my Halloween costume. I was Tigger for a week for Halloween at my school. Hi, over there, it's Thomas. Got the glasses, got the lights, looking good.
You said we're not dark anymore. It's dark in here, but I guess that's more of a visual thing, not the full experience of you just listening.
Okay, maybe I should put out Disney is not being obviously dark in this one, although we do always find a bit of darkness in these Pooh movies, it seems. This one being Pooh's Heffalump movie, which is kind of the last of this particular line of Pooh. All of these were made by Disney Toons in Japan. With we covered the Tigger movie, the Piglet movie, and this one. Right after I finished this, they shut it down and I guess fired everyone. So the movie comes out 8 months after the studio in Japan closes, and then there's a Halloween sequel to this one, which I don't that's not in the theaters. So I guess we don't.
Yeah, I didn't see that one, but it sounded really interesting because it leans more into the original premise of Heffalumps, which we'll get into.
Yeah, I guess because they're supposed to be mildly terrifying. You get on Pooh's honey hunt, and it ends with the Heffalumps and the Woozles. They're in their own ride vehicles with you, next to you, which is kind of fun. So I have a special spot for them.
They had the Halloween, and then they've also had a couple video games that I guess centered around Heffalumps being the main antagonist. So this movie wouldn't really get that in this Pooh's Heffalump movie, but they are in general terrifying and threatening, and like the only semblance, I guess, of enemies that Pooh and the 100 Acre have, that and the Woozles.
And this defangs them. I guess we still have our Woozles, but I don't know. I guess if a Heffalump got angry, like Big Mama Heffalump, she could do some real damage if she was in the mood for it.
Right, but also the original book, if you look at the illustrations in the Winnie the Pooh books, the Heffalumps are just elephants. Like they don't look like they're patchwork, and they don't have all of the soft rounded edges, and sort of they did kind of neuter them because originally I didn't even realize this until after I read it, but Heffalump is just supposed to be how a child would pronounce elephant before they know how to structure words properly. So I guess a kid rushing to try and say elephant, it comes out Heffalump. So that's where Heffalump likely came from. That's the leading theory, I guess.
So what's a woozle then? What are you trying to say if you have a woozle?
Well, we're gonna have to keep that one for the next episode.
Yeah, that'll be for the woozle movie, which unfortunately doesn't exist.
Yeah,
But,
I was gonna say, is there a Woozle movie?
there's no woozle movie that I know of. Yeah,
There
I was
another
thinking
cartoon in the 80s that I swear was called the Woozles.
that sounds familiar. I mean, they had all sorts of things. You know, the Snorks were out there, lots of bizarre
Right, it
names.
was the Woozles. I think were almost like a jungle version of Snorks.
Yeah, okay, maybe that's making the connection there. And then I'm thinking of Zoobly Zoo. That's a nice trauma-inducing show.
Please
If you ever
don't.
came
I was
across
gonna get nice sleep tonight, and now I'm not.
that.
Thank you so much. The conductor guy that like has the weird sort of like Michael Jackson outfit, or like an MC outfit, but he's got like the cat face.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
The bird lady. Okay, all right. We need to
That
stop.
or the Cats movie. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I just said the Cats movie. I shouldn't have said that either. Um, this one, the weird thing with these movies is they do seem to get more and more saccharine sweet. So the 70s one basically focuses on Pooh. Then we have the Tigger movie, supposed to focus on Tigger. Okay, that's good. Piglet, not quite as interesting. This one is Roo, which would not be my choice to base a movie on. I mean, come on, Eeyore's out there. He gets 3 lines in this movie. Let's have some Eeyore. Give him a movie before Roo. What's up?
I agree with that. I also think that I don't know if the Piglet movie might be my favorite one at all. It's close between Piglet and Tigger as like the best Pooh movies so far that we've covered.
Right, I know. I keep building up 2011, so I hope it lives up.
Okay, no, it's never going to live up to the hype now.
Hey,
this
it's 68 minutes long. If that, like this one, it's 68 minutes long. There's a selling point.
This one also, I guess, in part because of that whole Heffalump being like a child learning how to speak for the first time, and you said saccharine sweet. It also feels like this one skews way younger than any of the other movies that we've kind of seen so far. I almost remember when like Nick Jr. came out in addition to Nickelodeon, and you would realize, well, maybe this would have been slightly before your time or after your time rather. But like Nick Jr., you'd want to watch it because it was, hey, it's on Nickelodeon. I like everything on Nickelodeon. But then it's like, oh, this is for literal babies. Like not like the pejorative, like, oh, you're a baby because you're a year younger than me, but like literal children learning how to form sentences and watch and distinguish from shapes and colors. It kind of had a little bit of that flair. Like, I don't know, there's dialogue, there's things you can derive from it, but it seemed very, very basic compared to every other movie we've seen.
Well, it's trying to, like, we get the weird convoluted emotions, like the whole gaslighting thing in the Tigger movie, where this is just based on simple abandonment and fear of the dark. Those are the main conflicts in this one.
And prejudice. This is almost feels like Baby's first Prejudice movie. This is like Baby's first My Color Purple.
Now, on the occult angle, I do like to guess where you're going to go with this. So I just kept thinking of Bigfoot the whole time. Are we talking about Bigfoot today, or did you have other thoughts?
I like that you brought up Bigfoot because no, that was nowhere where I was bringing it up, but now that's all I want to talk about is Bigfoot.
Okay.
Essentially, no, I've got I guess a bunch of random sort of occult messaging as I was watching through it. Like, for example, it opens up on 2 bluebirds. Technically, there were blue swallows versus but it's still a blue bird. And then we immediately see a rabbit that the camera follows. So I was just like, okay, Project Bluebird, follow the rabbit, check. I strapped in. I was kind of like ready to break it down, but honestly, I found a whole bunch of other interesting. The saccharine sweet aspect, I think that actually might be an indicator of this new. I mean, I really am starting to hate the word woke now, but it's sort of like this aspect of we're going to teach some lessons in these movies. Like we're going to actually start incorporating something other than just crazy, weird gaslighting, which I think I appreciate that more. I would rather be gaslit by Disney than have them turn any of these movies into Aesop fables.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing with the quote unquote woke movie is like, if it's good, what's the problem? You know, if it's kind of bad, or in this case, if it's just not made for people over the age of 6, you know, then it's not so great. We did watch this once, I think. This was a one view, right? This and I think all of these Disney Tunes ones when my daughter was young, we probably watched all of them once, whereas that 2011 one we watched like 20 times. So,
So I have watched this movie 3 times in the last month.
Right. We had some chop on the recording schedule, and it went dark for a while. So you probably have some deeper experience with this one now.
Right, but I also feel in a weird way I'm in a group that I don't want to be part of men over 40 that have watched the Pooh's Heffalump movie 3 times in 1 month. Like, I have an excuse for this, but it almost seems that anyone else in that club, I don't even want to know what their excuse is.
Trying to think of what have I watched any? Well, okay, I did. We did all those Miyazaki's, and I just happened to have them for my other podcast. But there's nothing wrong with saying you watched a Miyazaki 2 or 3 times in a month.
Absolutely. But if you legitimately met somebody in real life and you were casual conversation, and they're just like, "No, I don't have kids. Yeah, I watched the Pooh's Heffalump movie 3 times this month," and took notes. Like, I don't know. It would freak me out a little bit.
Well, I am a 45-year-old man that showed up to this podcast in a Tigger suit, so there's that.
Right. Anyone other than me and you meeting up random in public.
The choices were actually this or Dale, and getting Dale seemed dumb if there was no Chip, so just a Dale is kind of annoying, so we went with Tigger. Also, I knew I could wear it for this podcast.
See, I for a split second, I thought you were talking about a movie, and I was like, there's not a Dale movie. I definitely would have seen that, but you're talking about the costume.
Yeah. I'm talking about the costume, but you need a Chip. I mean, they got the Rescue Ranger, so I wonder if there wasn't a theatrical of that where we would have covered it, but they might have done a straight-to-video Chip and Dale movie.
I love that. I love Chip and Dale and Rescue Rangers and Gadget. Like, Gadget might have been one of my first crushes before I even realized it, to be honest.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that was. I saw some of it, but I didn't entrain to it. It was on the TV in the background.
My cousins had they had 2 Nintendo games that neither of them broke out of frustration. One of them was Mike Tyson's Punch Out, the one with actual Mike Tyson, which was sick. But they also had Rescue Rangers NES game, which was one of the better of all the different adaptations of all the sort of cartoon games that were out at that point. At the time, I thought we were playing the actual cartoon. I mean, looking back, obviously not. But
and we talked about DuckTales. That's one of the best NES games in general. I think I probably played the games more than saw the actual cartoons because, again, I didn't have the Disney Channel or Nickelodeon, so I didn't see this stuff even when I might have been the right age for it.
And I know we already brought this up, but yeah, if you liked that DuckTales game, go and check out the remake. It's phenomenal. It's basically just an updated version. I mean, 10 years ago, I think it came out now, but it still looks way better than the original one, and it plays exactly the same. They got the mechanics and the jumps and everything pretty much nailed identical. So it's just a graphic update, which is kind of cool.
I'll have to bounce on that one. I currently the newest console I have is a DS, not a 3DS. So my gaming is not my forte, I guess. But yeah, well, I guess before you get to your notes, I'll just throw out my Bigfoot thing. Is just there's in the woods, there's these large creatures that seem fearsome or rarely seen, and they have their own little society and culture. I don't think the Heffalumps live in another dimension or anything like that. But that was my general thought. If you want to build on that a bit, because I know you have stuck your brain fully in the forest for Bigfoot.
Well, they literally live on the other side of a fence, so it's definitely not a different dimension or anything. But it does seem that in this case, it's kind of interesting because the Heffalump movie and the Heffalumps in general require a pretty big perspective shift, because within the 100-acre wood, you think you're outdoors, like you're the outdoor nature. You live in a tree. Everything that you do involves just being outside in nature and fending off the elements and gathering honey. It's like a very organic, hippie sort of back to the roots experiment, right? But when you learn about the Heffalumps, 100-acre woods, now this is the city. This is where population exists and a whole bunch of variety of people with machines and technology and stuff that doesn't exist over the side of this fence. So the Heffalumps, I think, are the closest things to animals that the 100-acre wood has, right? They're actually sort of cordoned off, and they have more, I guess, animal behaviors. So that it would make sense for this to represent this primitive, mythical creature So basically all Harry and the Hendersons. But it also, because we know all the backstory of the Halloween movie that came out and the origin and the book's original, all we're doing is we're meeting a nice one of them. But it does seem like there's way more potential for there to be really bad versions of all these. And I can't conjure a specific instance, but I do have a very strong feeling in all the other Pooh movies we've seen so far, excluding Blood and Honey, which would just be cheating. It does seem that Rabbit and Owl together, through their negligence and apathy, could actually cause some sort of intentional harm on somebody, or maybe Owl in the case of like negligent harm. Like, I don't get that from Piglet or Pooh or Roo or any of the other characters in the 100-Acre Wood, but I definitely could see Rabbit turning a blind eye when someone's like walking out onto cracking ice or something, just like, because he kind of does that to Tigger in a few ways when he tries to get rid of Tigger. So it makes me feel like the Heffalumps, maybe we're meeting one of the few good ones, and the rest of them might be quite nasty.
Yeah, I could see Rabbit getting enraged and bopping someone over the head with a hoe or something, like a farm hoe.
Yeah, he's very grumpy. He would blame it on dementia too.
Yeah, with the fence, it starts making me think of the 100-Acre Woods as like some weird gated community as well.
Like it's like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. That would be sick. Did you know there's a third Blood and Honey already coming out?
That's unsurprising.
It features Heffalumps, Woozles. They're going to add Roo, Rabbit. Apparently, they're adding like 6 new characters, and it's got the highest budget out of any of them. And that was news to me because maybe you brought it up, but I didn't even realize that Blood and Honey 2 already came out in March. So maybe we got to see the progression. If it's making enough money to make a third that's got a higher budget than the first 2, it seems like they're ramping up somehow.
Yeah, I'd still, on the first one, it's definitely like, oh, it's just the name of the movie and what it is going to drag you in, and there's not much going on there.
Well, they got 3 helmet costumes.
That's I love the costumes. I mean, the costumes were wrong, but yeah, they were great, I thought. Let's see. Oh yeah, one little bit of continuity. I did notice that Tigger was still stuck on his fake family at the beginning, which is mildly depressing. Like, he never worked it out. He's still lost in his delusions. So that's happening.
The programming is quite strong.
Yeah. It did not break with him. I guess he's not going to sing his theme song anymore because he does not think he's the only one anymore. But let's see. Kanga is still a hardcore nudist. With the age thing in the beginning when they're letting, telling Roo he has to stay home because he's too young. I guess it's age, but I'm like, Piglet's smaller than Roo.
Right, but Piglet, I think we discussed, he's at least 30 or 40.
Yeah, that's true. He is grown, but he's tiny, so I don't know. It seems a little weird. There seems to be a very strong, like, kids don't dare go in the woods vibe to this movie.
And just because it was a fleeting thought, but Piglet is just a small, bald George Costanza of the 100-Acre Wood. That's kind of how I interpret him. Yeah,
he's got a little more victim energy to him, though. George has a lot too, but I think Piglet maybe ramps it up a bit on that. There's someone else I'm thinking of that. If it comes to me,
Eeyore's the ultimate victim in the whole thing because that's always woe is me.
Well, he's the dark, the black hole of not a person, but a creature that just draws in negative energy all the time. Like,
he's like a goth. He's like he was listening to The Cure right before you see him every time.
Not even quite that. There's people in your life where it's just like they have so much drama. But it's like you kind of attracted that, didn't you? Like, you're just you want to be in drama and be somewhat unhappy. I just get that vibe from people sometimes.
How dare you being through that MK Ultra traumatic programming? Why didn't you take it as well as Pooh did?
Hey, Pooh, that's the thing. That's why there's the Zen of Pooh, right? Pooh is just kind of like floats through all of it, whereas Rabbit is again, Rabbit and Owl are pretty demented at this point, as we said. Maybe not dementia, but demented. And
I think Rabbit is just sick of everyone's everything, and he's not afraid to kind of like let it out. Like I said, like he was one of the ones that was kind of spearheading the whole aspect of getting Tigger out of the 100-Acre Wood, to the point where, I mean, he was going to freeze to death. I think that was almost implied at some point, just not outright stated for obvious reasons. But like he didn't have a real family or anyone else looking out for him, and they were just kind of like ousting him.
Yeah, Rabbit is the farmer who is the first to grab the pitchfork in any situation, I guess, which is kind of a weird character to. I mean, it makes sense in the ecology of this movie and its characters, but yeah, a little bit weird for a general kids set.
If we need archetypes, I would say, man, I can't remember the name of the movie, but Clint Eastwood was in this movie where he just doesn't like the Asians that are in his town. And that kind of reminds me of Rabbit. Like Rabbit is
Gran
a
Torino?
Clint Eastwood. Yes, I think it was. That's how I sort of see Rabbit, is Gran Torino.
There we go. I had to get rid of the Tigger hood. When you're sitting down, it's like kind of drags on your neck, and after a while, you're like, wait a minute, this sucks. So that's the danger of becoming a Tigger, I guess.
And this was a real random tangent, but I can do it in just a few. And that's that. Out of all the different cultural references of Heffalump, which I guess it originated with Winnie the Pooh. That's where this phrase Heffalump came from, and like the whole amalgamation from a kid, like trying to say the word elephant. But the Heffalump is reused in all sorts of books and movie and media outside of the Disney universe. One of those is a cult classic novel, which I've never read before, but I'm absolutely going to now after I read the synopsis. It's called Bend Down So Long It Looks Like Up to Me. Have you ever heard of this?
I have not. Who wrote that?
It's a guy named Richard Farina. He wrote it, or he published it in 1966. He seemed like he could have been friends with Lee Harvey Oswald, maybe like a hippie, drunk out version of Lee Harvey Oswald. But he goes to Cuba, and he's fighting like that he's sort of protesting against Batista in Cuba at some point. Comes back, he's doing lots and lots of drugs. The book is essentially a retelling of the Odyssey in, I guess, New York City, on psychedelics. Like that's sort of the entire premise of the book. It becomes somewhat of a cult classic, but right after he releases it and he's just starting to get popular from it, he dies in a motorcycle accident that happens as they drive through a fence. So I was just like, oh, that's, and the whole reason is Heffalump is the name of like one of his friends throughout the course of the book. He calls him Heffalump. So he goes over the fence and it doesn't work out well for him in Heffalump.
Yeah, I guess that's a pretty direct from the book reference, because I don't think Disney had done the last of those animations in '66 or whatever. So
Look, it was a widely popular, I guess, phrase for a while. This is what happens when you don't have internet, is that stupid words like Heffalump just reverberate through pop culture, and it's like the new thing for 10 or 15 years.
At the beginning of the movie, I just had a quick thought when they find the Heffalump tracks at first. I was just thinking of like lo-fi crop circles for a minute. I don't know if that has any traction, but that passed through my mind. I wrote it down.
Well, Bigfoot is known to frequently be seen alongside UFO sightings, so it doesn't surprise me that we would have both of those kind of in the same capacity.
Yeah. The Heffalump itself, I guess this is one of those movies where it's that 90s kid actor voice acting thing. Just, I mean, I know it's like 2004 or 5 now, 2005, but the voice acting just grates on me, because we got Rue, Nikita Hopkins, still alive, but this is their final film role. So they got out after this, but they did the Tigger movie. They did all the Pooh stuff up to this point. So, but then we kind of doubled down. We have Kyle Stanger as Lumpy the Heffalump, and that Heffalump voices kind of drove me up a wall. I don't know about you.
That it's basically just a child with a lisp or some sort of speech impediment for cute reasons, right?
Well, just a little bit of a British accent. And, and then mom comes and does like the same thing. It just says love. Oh, everyone's love. You're love. And she said that like 40 times within a 2-minute period, and it was driving me up a wall.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting a whole lot more from a character literally named after the mispronunciation of elephant throughout it. So, and man, I love British people. Everyone knows anything that I watch, I'm always praising British people for everything that they do, food, culture, everything. The accent is usually one of the biggest selling points of a British person. And in this case, it makes me dislike the accent, which is saying a lot. Like, I almost don't even want to ever watch Austin Powers now because of Heffalump.
Well, go watch some Patrick Stewart. That'll fix it for
He doesn't.
you.
Doesn't that a little bit Scottish in there, or no? Am I just adding that in my own mind?
I don't think he is. I think he's a little bit northern England, so that makes sense. It would be more like a little bit of a rural accent that's somewhere behind the Shakespearean, I think.
Right. Well, and a fun fact, the AI voice that I use the most now is it was a very handcrafted blend. I feel like I'm a drinkologist, like a mixologist sometimes when I make some of these, but it is a blend of Walt Disney and Patrick Stewart. And those two voices together makes it sound like you know what it is, but it doesn't actually match either of those voices if you to compare either one to the other. But I don't know what a world we're living in right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to work that out in my head. I just read Patrick Stewart's autobiography. It's really good, but it's 80% Shakespeare, 20% Star Trek, which that actually makes a whole lot of sense since it's Patrick Stewart. But it was an interesting read, sure.
He should write a biography as Captain Luke Picard. That would actually be interesting if that doesn't exist already.
He didn't write it, but there is the autobiography of Jean-Luc Picard out there.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, awesome.
I think all the in the past few years, I think all the captains have like the autobiography of.
If there's an audiobook reading by Patrick Stewart of the autobiography of Jean-Luc Picard, that would be something special.
Oh, that would be something special. Now you're making me search if this exists.
It should. If it doesn't exist, you know what? We have the technology to make it exist. We don't even have to wait around for Patrick Stewart to do it.
Autobiography of the first one that comes up is Yogi, by the way. It's interesting.
Well, that's actually I don't know if you've ever read.
I've read it.
Yogi Berra's autobiography. Yeah, it seems like a medieval book of maxims. Like he turns into freaking Machiavelli in this book and just drops like nugget after nugget in that thing.
Oh wait, which book?
Are we talking about Yogi Berra's? Not Yogi Bear.
No, I was talking about autobiography of a yogi and I can't properly pronounce his name.
Now I'm talking about
I was like, I don't think he didn't seem Machiavellian.
No, but his book is full of all sorts of quotes they're pretty deep for what you would expect.
Okay, for all you Trekkies out there,
and crybabies, that's one of those deep ones.
We've got the autobiography of James T. Kirk, Mr. Spock, and Jean-Luc Picard. I swear they did a Janeway as well. Yeah, there's a Janeway if anybody wants that. Benjamin Sisko. You can read autobiographies of all these people written by people who are not them. So it kind of breaks it's written by David Goodman or something, which that doesn't make sense for an autobiography. Well, but it is an autobiography of a fictional character. So
with the copyrights expired, we could write a Winnie the Pooh autobiography, and like it could even like recount his MK Ultra programming and like meeting Dr. White and Dr. Green and Dr. Black.
Oh yeah, and going prisoner style by doors where you look in and there's like Piglet having treatments.
I mean, honestly, that's all on the table now, right? Does Piglet come with that, or is it? I guess I haven't really looked into the specifics on everything that got public domain, but is it like all the characters, Owl and Rat? I guess so, if the movies are doing it.
I think maybe not Tigger yet because he was created a few years later. And then, of course, like we were talking about with Return to Oz, where there were certain things that MGM owns. There are certain things that Disney owns. Like, obviously, you cannot make Winnie the Pooh look exactly like he does in the Disney version because that goes back to 64 or whatever it was. Don't quote me on that date.
But for example, a character named Rabbit, who is a rabbit, that one might be a little bit hard to enforce. Disney's color palette or something.
Or here's what you do: you make the movie, but you get real cheap, and you just have actual human actors. They just have all the names. At the end, you have a quick animated segment. That's when they've been broken and now live in this weird Twilight universe of the mind or whatever.
Well, I'm not even thinking animated. I'm thinking like Donnie Darko style.
Oh no, it's only anime in the last 2 minutes. They're people throughout the movie, and then at the end, they're in their new reality.
It was like the inverse of Homer Simpson taking acid.
Right, right, right. Well, he was what was he was hot sauce. Yeah, that was his
Hot
LSD,
sauce,
wasn't it?
that's right. There I recently, oh my god, I'm a little bit annoyed that I can't remember this off the top of my head, but I recently reviewed a bunch of songs with a friend, and he brought this like a stoner rock group that specializes in all Simpson themed songs, and they're like 4 or 5 albums deep, and they're actually really, really, really incredible music. But every single album and every single song, they have fully out dedicated everything to the Simpsons, and I mean, it was phenomenal. They've got an entire song about the hot peppers, and it's all about Homer Simpson tripping. Well, I'll have to figure out what it is as we're talking.
I mean, you can find niche bands for like anything. It's like looking Rule 34 on the internet, right? You
Right,
also
but
find
I
a
mean, this
band
one
that
it was almost like the music stood alone by itself. Like it was already like really good stoner rock music, and then if you pay attention to the lyrics, you're like, "Is this about freaking Sideshow Bob?" And yeah, the answer is yes on all of these. It was so many of them. I don't want to go too much of a tangent.
Yeah, it's like in the Metalocalypse show with Deathlock doing the coffee commercial, and death metal. Do you want some coffee? That was as they're pouring boiling coffee on their audience and incinerating them.
The name is Dr. Colossus. That's the name of the group. And honestly, any of their albums are worth looking up. But the album we listened to is called The Dank.
Ooh, okay. Wow, it sounds like we're getting past my general knowledge of Simpsons references, which is almost surprising.
Yeah, and one of the best songs in there was called Space Coyote, and Space Coyote is the hot sauce episode where Homer starts tripping.
Now, can you go past season 9 or 10 of The Simpsons and keep making those references? Nobody will get them past season 11 in particular, I'm sure.
I mean, okay, no big loss. You know what I mean? No one should. No one should get the references beyond season 9 or 11 at the most.
I know I've asked the question before, but who at this point is watching The Simpsons? I mean, if I want to watch The Simpsons, I'll put on like a DVD of, like 20-year-old shows, 30-year-old shows. Jeez.
I mean, I might have it on in the background every once in a while just to like keep up and see what the hell they're talking about. But yeah, same thing. I mean, you can just watch season 3 to season 11. And then once you get there, just start back over at season 3 again. And it'll always be fresh because this was before TV shows had only 8 to 10 episodes per season.
I guess I'm going extra tangenty today because I just don't know what to say about Pooh's Heffalump movie that much. But you have notes. Let's
we're talking about Homer Simpson tripping out and seeing space coyotes and sipping on hot sauce. And as I'm watching this whole movie, I guess out of all the themes, the one that kept hitting me the most is that Heffalump is a reference to the psychedelic experience, because before this movie, the only reference to Heffalumps are when Pooh is dreaming. And I think another person in 100 Acre Wood also dreams about these Heffalump in particular. And the only version outside of, I guess, like astral projection and like twins being telepathically connected somehow, but when two people share the exact same surreal experience and see entities that share the same colors and form patterns and everything, that seems like a psychedelic experience. And also the elephants and Disney already has this weird, I guess, NLP anchor, whether they intended it or not. But now whenever I see an elephant that kind of looks like it, but not quite an elephant, I'm imagining Dumbo tripping balls on whatever that wormwood, like absinthe concoction was that he got into. So yeah, like this, as soon as the Heffalump came onto the scene, it's more like, Rue, don't go over that fence. Don't go look for the Heffalump. That's like, Rue, stay off drugs. Say no to drugs. And he decides this one day, maybe they're not as dangerous as everyone's been talking about. Like maybe they're actually good for me. And the Heffalump on the other side is kind of like the psychedelic entity. And I feel that this psychedelic entity Heffalump also has his elder DMT entities, and they're like, don't mess around with humans. They're all bad news. They're like here to kind of stomp us out and get rid of us, which is kind of true. Both of them are equally true amongst each other. You can see Rue being small and juvenile and a little bit ignorant. Even if we drop the psychedelic Heffalumps are drugs aspect for now, Rue could easily be accidentally hurt by a Heffalump, like just because he's small and inexperienced and might not know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to navigate the world of Heffalumps. And likewise, the Heffalumps have all the reason in the world to be afraid of humans because, and when I say humans, I mean the rest of the people in 100 Acre Wood, Pooh, Rabbit, Piglet, but they have a right to be afraid because they do have the technology to wipe out the Heffalumps. I would almost assume that they're the ones that put the damn fence up if it wasn't Christopher Robin, that freaking Antichrist.
Not mentioned in this movie, is he? Do they even
Well,
say his name?
because now we're sitting back and watching his creation kind of like figure itself out.
Yeah, that could be it. I was just sitting here thinking of other Disney movies if elephants would be like a psychedelic signifier in general. Jungle Book doesn't work with that. They're kind of stodgy. But I was thinking Aladdin, once Aladdin's life is suddenly transformed and he's the prince or whatever, he's riding into town on elephants. So there's that. But
right, but those elephants don't talk and they don't sing and they don't have a really annoying high-pitched British voice. But I feel I guess it has more to do with elephants that are acting very abnormal, whereas that's kind of what you expect from an elephant in India to act like. Or I guess China is how that should have played out.
Yeah, I'm not finding anything else in the Disney canon that has a notable elephant other than the ones I just mentioned. So
Fantasia has. Don't they have dancing, or are those just hippopotami?
Yeah, they have dancing hippos in that. Anyway, I was seeing if I could, I thought the idea was interesting enough. I wanted to see if I could take it a little deeper, but it might not necessarily do that. But hey, we got more movies. It might catch on,
Here's one that I think it was worth writing down and maybe talking about. As this movie opens up, there's a huge sign, and I think it's in Eeyore's little area. I can't remember exactly whose house it was outside of, but it says trespassers will, and then you can't read. It's obscured or it's fallen off or something. The last part. But what do you think was on that sign? What is the threat?
I'm gonna guess it's rabbit sign then, and so trespassers will be murdered by rabbit's pitchfork.
Slowly tortured and skinned and declawed.
Like I said, this movie kind of makes them a gated community, right? Again, keep the Heffalumps out of our gated community, that sort of thing.
Right, or it's just the conservatives. Let's keep those weird, hippies out in their communes. Don't let them near our kids because they're gonna get their kids on whatever the hell they're doing, and they're going to start seeing weird elephant creatures, and they won't be able to enunciate their words correctly because they're so whacked out of it.
Again, but that also sounds like Rabbit. Does Rabbit really belong in the 100 Acre Woods? I guess.
He might be like the necessary evil of the 100 Acre Woods because
he's the one doing food production, so they need him.
He absolutely seems like a custodian. Nobody else in the entire 100 Acre Woods really seems like an aware custodian. Pooh maybe wants to do good things, but he wouldn't. He would screw everything up. No one else seems to be qualified. So, and I think that's probably what is making Rabbit so worn down and frustrated all the time, is because he realizes that there's really no one that can step into his role. He can't retire as Rabbit.
They will all die if Rabbit stops rabbiting.
Right. And in this movie, that's kind of one of the things they do, because after Roo brings Heffalump into the 100 Acre Wood, they immediately go into Rabbit's, garden, and they're having fun and they're throwing stuff back and forth. And then the camera zooms out and all the food for them is completely gone. And unfortunately, at the end of this movie, they all starve to death. It kind of turns into a really dark, Soviet film. I wasn't expecting that to happen at all.
Yeah, I have to watch that next week for my film podcast.
Okay, it didn't really happen. That didn't really happen.
Dark
but
Soviet film. I'm about to watch it though. I'm about to watch it for real. For that, let's see. I just had that thought escape my brain again. Oh yeah, the playing in this movie was another thing. And can we spend a little more time together at the end? Sure. And they're just running around in a circle giggling. I never did that with my friends.
On drugs.
Hear
me out. There's a few other references in there, so I think that this might explain it a little bit, and it might even help rewatchability. If you do find yourself having to rewatch the Heffalump movie, watch it like everyone's on drugs, man. And then it starts to make a little bit more sense.
Is that why Carly Simon's here for a second time? Hippie goddess.
Yeah. She was actually the drug dealer on set. Like, hey, do you mind singing some songs too? It's like, oh yeah, of course.
She has Pooh's connection, yeah. Which I don't. Sorry, Carly, not into these songs. Any kind of name game song I like instantly hate. Even in the Forbidden Zone movie, which is a real. Do you know that movie?
It sounds familiar, but it's not conjuring anything right now.
It's directed by Danny Elfman's brother. Has Oingo Boingo as a house band. Has Danny Elfman in it as Satan, and it's just a twisted, bizarre, weird movie. But it has a name game song, and even there, I'm like, I don't like this name game song.
That has to sting a little bit, just being known as Danny Elfman's brother. It's like, I have a name, you know.
Yeah, Richard Elfman. I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah, but I wouldn't have known who that is if you said it. So Danny Elfman's brother is a better name.
Here's the weird. Yeah, Danny Elfman's brother actually started the Mystic Order of the Oingo Boingo, which was an art collective, not just a band. At some point, was like, I want to be a filmmaker, and turned the band over to Danny. So, oops. No, maybe there's a raw talent thing going on. Well, his directing is mildly interesting, so I do recommend that movie. I think it's watchable on YouTube. I actually recommend watching the colorized version because it's weird hand colored stuff and makes it much trippier.
So what was the name of the movie again?
Forbidden Zone.
Forbidden Zone.
Yeah, it's a very twisted, weird movie.
Sounds like a movie that would be on Skinamax.
It's too weird for that, probably, to be honest.
Okay.
But I think it does. I think it does have some boobies. I think Hervé, what's his name? The short man. He's on the plane. The plane. He's in the movie.
Yeah, that guy.
I can almost get his last name. I can't quite spit it out. I think I'm getting it wrong.
I know. His name.
Yeah, he's Tattoo. He's Tattoo. He's also in this movie as the king of the Forbidden Zone or something.
Oh,
the
you know what?
King.
Okay, now this is actually starting to ring some bells.
Yeah, it's a notable cult film. So filmed in a basement. You know, they just made all the sets in a basement, so that's fun in a way.
Well, look at that. We've got two cult references in Pooh's Heffalump movie already. So I don't know. I feel like we're already ahead of the game a little bit.
Yeah, well, that one's kind of tenuously me rambling from one topic to another. So not quite sure how much it connects, but I assume that you still have a few notes to bop down there. Yeah,
so some more proof that this is about not just mind control. It's just like, say, specifically psychedelic drugs. Another, as the movie is opening up, we get to see right outside of Kang and Rue's house. And I swear to you, there is a freaking angel trumpet tree. There's a datura tree in their yard as it's zooming out. They have a very distinctive look. So I think that this is another nod to, if not just scopolamine, which I think is something that comes in the datura, but like this psychedelic kind of experience. It's like a foreshadowing, if you will. And I didn't go back and rewatch any of the other Pooh movies to see if that same angel trumpet tree was also in their yard. I'll assume a strong maybe.
So we're kind of sending Rue out into the wilderness to have his coming of age vision quest.
Well, and it seems that Rue's always been ready for this. He's always had drugs at his immediate disposal. So, and it doesn't show exactly what he takes, but that was kind of where I was putting two and two together, was that Rue doesn't just go for like some mild little mushrooms, not like a weak little LSD or a DMT trip. He's like, I'm going to actually just go all the way hardcore and do devil's breath scopolamine. And he does that. And he travels over the fence, the same fence that ends up killing writers. And he meets, I guess, the fear. He faces this creature that everyone in 100 Acre Woods is absolutely terrified of. And he not only is everyone terrified of it, that Rue goes out and brings it, but he brings it back into the 100 Acre Woods. So now this is Rue maybe spiking everyone's drugs, and now like they're all doing scopolamine. They don't have the choice at this point.
Yeah, it's about to say maybe the Heffalumps still don't exist at the end of this movie, you know?
Well, did they ever exist to begin with? Because if they're just sort of psychedelic entities, then that makes all the sense. And again, this isn't just like me rambling and trying to find some random like interesting thread. This is because Heffalumps were originally pitched as not existing in reality. Even in the books, the Heffalumps originally are shown in these like big dreamy thought bubbles inside the characters. So you're introduced to them, and Pooh and all these other characters that know of the Heffalumps, they know of them through dreams, but they've never seen them. In fact, according to the wiki, if you ignore the Halloween version of the Heffalump movie, Pooh technically never sees a Heffalump throughout the course of any of the books at all. So I think that there's a strong case to be made that the Heffalumps don't actually exist. So yeah, they are like some sort of weird astral beings. So outside of that psychedelic thread, though, they obviously represent sort of xenophobia, I think, on both sides. That seems to be what Aesop's fable, like G.I. Joe lesson that they're telling you. So they're also allowed to sell you toys. And it's basically, oh, maybe everyone's not that bad on both sides of this fence. I'm hesitant. I still really do think that the Heffalumps are vile, nefarious creatures, and we just happen to see Lumpy, who's kind of like the dumb one. He's not smart enough to be bad, but the rest of them are bad.
Yeah, you never trust a Heffalump. I am thinking of like entities being met. Like they're having kind of a group hallucination in that case. I mean, but with an actual psychedelic entity is for
not necessarily, because if the Heffalump just represents the psychedelic experience, then them all seeing it, there's something called form constants, where everyone thinks that they're having the same vision, but it's really because a lot of people see the same type of fractal patterns. They'll see like a cobweb pattern. Some of them, like there's very specific one. This is also from MK Ultra research. Have you ever seen the experiment with like the spider, the orb weaver spiders, and it's spinning different webs, and they give it different drugs, and the webs look all different? It's part of sort of the same category of research and all of that. But these form constants that they're called, they do explain why so many people tend to explain having like these group hallucinations. If you wanted like the non-supernatural version of it, right? It's that the human brain shares the same chemical makeup and the same architecture as every other one. So when you start having synapses firing off and like you're flooding your system with serotonin, then you tend to have somewhat similar experiences that you can relate to.
Yeah, or the thing like we're both saying, "Hey, man, that's green," but we're seeing different greens. That thing, the dress that no one can agree about, that sort of thing.
So that said, I have 100% had a group hallucination experiment when I was younger that at the time absolutely convinced me that I was at least agnostic and not an atheist. It was like a very specific moment, and it was when me and a number of other people kept seeing someone like following us and hiding in bushes. Like we were in a different plane of existence at this point. But it wasn't just like, oh, did you see someone? Yeah, I saw someone too, run. It was like, hey, did you see like a 40-year-old lady hiding in the bush on that blue house, like 2 streets back? And it'd be like, oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. I thought I was crazy. And then like you would keep seeing like very specific things over and over. I can't explain that. I mean, maybe we were both lying to each other or something and like planning ideas, but this was like a very specific group. And it wasn't just like people. It was like seeing the exact same shapes in the clouds constantly. Like you both see it, don't say it. The other person says what they saw, and you're just like, I can't believe you just said that, happening for, I don't know, 4 hours straight. So I don't know. It felt like we were like just tuned into the same station.
No, I'm sitting here thinking in my days of experimentation, I don't recall meeting any entities, which I feel disappointed saying that.
Yeah.
In dreams for sure. As I said, I've managed a few direct injection lucid dreams. So again, that happens. You're like, I guess don't think I'm going to call myself atheist, And I do recall meeting in dreams, not always the same form, but meeting the same entity multiple times, like in 5 different dreams. And the final dream was in a train station. They're like, okay, I'm going now, and I haven't seen him since.
So this might not surprise you, but I just had to Google really quick. But Salvia divinorum is illegal in Japan. Womp womp.
Yeah, they keep, the thing in Japan is they keep like tweaking the chemical makeups and having loophole drugs, and then a couple months later they're out. There have been occasions when they were okay, but most of the time they're not.
I don't think anyone's making chemical variants of Salvia divinorum. But anyways, I won't use this platform to push that yet again, unlike all my other shows. But that is one that probably has rocked my world the most. Not just me personally, subjectively, but other people that I've seen do it for the first time, not knowing what they were getting into over the course of 20 plus years. Like seriously, high school all the way to like through the military. I grew Salvia divinorum when I was in the military. That might not surprise anybody. It wasn't scheduled at that point. And then even after the military, after I went through college and had a job and everything, all these different people throughout 20 different years reporting nearly identical descriptions of like a female entity that says certain things and certain phrases. Wild. I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to go too much of a tangent, but absolutely, that has been something that completely changed my worldview about absolutely everything.
Yeah, that is the trade-off about living in Japan, where many things are nice, but it's like smoke your cigarettes, drink your alcohol, and call it a day. You know, like as far as the law, marijuana and heroin's like the same thing. Like there's no distinction. Like if you were found with a little bit of marijuana or a little bit of heroin to the Japanese legal system, it's the same.
I'm curious, since we're already on a slight tangent about Japanese drug enforcement rules, but I don't know how much you watch like cop shows or stuff, and I don't mean fictional. I mean like cops. Like the quote unquote real version of police work. But it's very obvious that American police have this like discretion where they can find certain drugs on you and just let you go, just based on how you're acting, what mood they're in. There's like all, but in Japan, I almost imagine it's like a zero tolerance. Like if they see that you've got weed, and someone else sees that they saw you got weed, then you have to bring them in. Do you even know? I'm assuming you haven't had a lot of encounters with like drug enforcement police in Japan, but
no, especially living out in the countryside. The thing with Japanese police is they want to be like, we are like 100% sure that we have evidence for this person before they arrest you. So there's that. There's a high profile case. The guy is like 88 now. So a little bit like Reuben the Hurricane Carter. He's a boxer in the 60s, accused of a murder or a few murders, and was on death row. I think he was the guy on death row for the longest. Lots of solitary confinement. His brain was jumbled. Like he was just acquitted like a month ago, and it took him a few weeks for him to understand that he was no longer on death row, apparently. So but yeah, that one of the reasons in the legal system, even now that he's been acquitted, there are people and the government's still like, oh, let's try him again, because they didn't really have the evidence. They apparently coerced a confession by beating the crap out of him back in the 60s, that sort of thing. But the Japanese legal system is so much like, we do not arrest people unless we know they're guilty. So when something like that happens and they screwed up, they go kind of apeshit about it.
So I guess I've got a couple other notes that explain the difference between what the 100 Acre Woods people are talking about, these questionable entities. They're either Bigfoot or there's some like scary demonic things, or they're like psychedelic entities that are gonna like eat your soul and cause ego death. Literally,
I'm going to eat your soul.
I like that.
The voices, man. Change the voices, and this movie gets so much better.
I don't know. I mean, what would be more terrifying than having the? And also, if they wanted to subliminally tell kids to actually not do drugs, that would keep me away from drugs. If you told me that, hey, if you smoke a little bit of this, you're going to hear this voice for an hour and a half, it would be like, no, thank you, sir. Never.
What if Lumpy were voiced by Ernest Borgnine? There we go.
I mean, there was precedent, right? Just
come on, Rue, let's go play. I don't know. I'd be amused by that.
It would be too good for Disney to actually allow that to happen, especially at this point. It does feel like a turning point.
Is after this. The only just as a little production thing. After this, the only movies with anything resembling hand-drawn animation are, I think, Princess and the Frog and Winnie the Pooh.
Ooh, that's sort of depressing.
That's it. It's all computers here from here on out.
This is the last movie we're going to see that has hand-drawn animation. Oh my God.
Well, Princess and the Frog and Winnie the Pooh.
Right. Right. But I mean, you just mentioned two movies, and maybe everyone else that's listening, doesn't know what the list of movies we have up in front of us, but it is like easily, it's like 2 years worth of episodes to get through. But you're telling me that out of those 2 years of episodes, we're only going to have 2 that kind of have hand-drawn animation in them.
Well, that's why we'll toss in a few animes here and there.
Okay, yeah, no,
But we do have the other actual, we have the other Ghibli films that Disney distributed, so those count.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
So there's those.
Right.
So you got some anime to cover that a little bit. It is going to be interesting because Disney's going to just stumble hard with their computer animation for the next 6 years of production. What I think Tangled is the first like CG Disney, straight up Disney movie that really took hold, if I'm correct. Up to there, it's all Pixar. And even Pixar, it's weird. I for my other podcast, we recently did WALL-E and Coco, and both of them we were like, we don't actually like these movies that much.
Really? Okay. See, I haven't seen WALL-E since it came out, and I loved it. I thought WALL-E was phenomenal.
First 40 minutes, great, but then just like what it was like, you and I are going to have a discussion about that, of course, when we get to it. But even on my Films and Filth, we were like, what is this movie getting at exactly? Coco even more, just everything in Pixar is like a bureaucracy, and Coco, the underworld or the great beyond is just another bureaucracy. And our guest was a Mexican animator, and she was pissed. She was like, "That is not a Mexican boy. That is an American boy." Like because I came in thinking, I'm going to 4 people on the podcast, and I came in thinking, I'm going to be the one hater on Coco. Everybody loves Coco. Turned out 4 people, and none of us particularly liked it. So,
are you allowed? I think that it might actually be a felony in Canada to say that you don't like Coco.
Maybe, yeah, but
it's actually hate speech, so be careful.
Yes, it looks great, the music's good, but we didn't, the great beyonds of bureaucracy. It's just it was a weird kind of a little bit of cultural appropriation, because there's the Book of Life came out the same year, which is made by Mexicans, which helps because Coco's made by the Pixar machine with a few token staff members to make it seem legit.
Well, pretty soon they're all just going to be made by AI models, so that's going to transcend all culture and race, I think.
That's right. We'll have a nice monoculture, just like alien races
ran our
Star
servers
Trek.
in Mexico.
But anyway, we will talk more in depth about WALL-E and Coco in the future. But I was just interested to find that those didn't play well in 2024 for whatever reason.
So some of the warnings that we hear about the Heffalump, which again are psychedelics, these are drugs. It's an anti-drug movie. That there are these 3-headed creatures, which we already know is not the case. The second that you see one of them, they don't have 3 heads. But the things that they're described as doing is that they'll steal all your honey, and which I heard as they'll steal all your money, which is something that drugs will do over time. That's pretty objective fact. And that they'll stomp on your house until it's dust, which seems kind of violent for a Pooh movie. Although I think we've also seen like Pooh accidentally stomp Eeyore's house into dust before, and no one really cared that much. But apparently, if a Heffalump does it, it's a big deal. But what would stomping your house into dust look like for an astral psychedelic entity? To me, that is ego death. So it's like, okay, be careful, because these psychedelic experiences will cause ego death. It'll stomp your astral, I guess, like mental house into dust, and then you'll have to reassemble it all back together again, which does kind of sound like most of the psychedelic experiences that I've heard about.
So the end of the movie, I want to see if we can fit this into your theory. Maybe you already have, or is it just we have to have a little bit of action in this thing, which is Rue getting stuck in that weird massive trees, which made me think of the Sarlacc from Return of the Jedi a bit.
That specific scene, I swear, it was almost like someone said, "Man, great job, everyone," and he like went to turn off the light, and someone in the background was like, "Hey, wait, nothing happens in this movie." And then they were like, no, that can't be right. And they start looking through all of the cells, and they're like, "Oh my God. All right, everyone come back. We're working overnight tonight."
Well, same thing. And I don't remember if it's Piglet or Tigger where they're on the log by a waterfall just for a little action at the end. Kind of the same thing. I mean, I guess that's the formula of a Pooh movie is it's going to be very chill, but we got to put just a little bit to make it like a movie.
It also, again, this is like speaking out of turn maybe with like a little of unneeded bias here, but all of these Pooh movies just seem like something you would put on for your child to fall asleep, not necessarily get jacked up and want to turn into a transformer and like slam another Mountain Dew or whatever. Like this is something that you're like, all right, put the freaking kids to bed, but you're like, put them down for a nap. You can put most of these, maybe not the Tigger movie because he's just bouncing around too much and saying a bunch of crazy stuff. But the rest of these just seem like babysitting movies.
Yeah, I think that's the 2011 one, same thing, but adults like enjoy watching that one more. Again, like you said, anyone not doing it for a podcast, a man over 40 watching us 3 times in a month, that's, that puts you on a list, right?
No judgment. I just don't want to be in that group. I'm excluding myself from the group just because I had a reason to do it and I wouldn't have done it otherwise.
Now with that, was it a pit or just a pile of trees? I thought it was a pit, but after the mom moves things, it seemed more just a pile. But because she just kind of like, okay, I'll go save him, and she's putting herself in pretty mortal danger and just kind of walking into it with not a second thought, which maybe makes that a heroic Heffalump. But it was a little weird. Like, you think she'd be just a touch tenuous, It
reminded me of Brother Bear. I was like, we're just watching Brother Bear again, just it takes place in the Winnie the Pooh sort of world.
Yeah. Although this was made in Japan, whereas that one was made in Florida. So I don't know how much back and forth. They might have just stumbled on the same sort of conclusion, accidentally.
I mean, it's 2 different worlds. One creature that's supposed to be very dangerous to the other, and they're each kind of taught the same thing, and the kids meet up, they form like an unlikely pair and then sort of share the knowledge amongst their respective groups. It's literally Brother Bear. Like it's the same exact movie, just taking place in 2 different worlds.
And of course, this is also not a like mainline Disney movie. I'm actually having a look at the list, and I'm seeing, I think this might be the end of this was going to be straight to DVD or straight to video, but then they put it in the theater. This might be the last of those. Let's see, the next movie is actually made by a different company, I guess distributed by Disney. And then after that, I'm pretty sure these are all straight features. So this movie, I guess, actually is the end of the Eisner era, because he's out in 2004, 2005, right? So this is the tail end of Eisner.
Going out on a high. And I mean, speaking of, you usually have all of the box office and like the critical reception stats and all that. So I'm curious for Pooh's Heffalump movie. I mean, they probably had the formula down at this point. It doesn't seem like this is a movie that you would spend budget on, but again, never under. What's the quote that Obama?
This is cash in the bank, man. It's 20 million budget, 52.9.
There you go.
Million box
printer.
Office.
Yeah.
All the reviews are basically saying it's pleasant, but it's not great. Well, 80% Rotten Tomatoes isn't bad, but Metacritic is 64, which I would put. This is like the most mid thing ever. This is 50-50 for me.
Yeah, but it's one of those weird things about, like, remember how video game magazines growing up, there was no such thing as a game that got a 5. Like if it was a 5, it was a 0. That every single game had to be like if it was a 6, it was like, okay, maybe rent it, don't waste your time. 7 up were like, okay, these are actual games. Everything else is just sort of like tchotchke garbage. But that it's weird because over time you start to realize there's no such thing as a 4. Like again, a 4 is a 2, is a 3, is a 1. Like none of those really matter if it's under a certain number. IMDb was like that for a very long time too, where like if it was a movie that was under 6, then it was like some B movie or like something that was like intentionally bad. But it's hard because some sites do have a little bit of that indicator, but I think in general, it's almost like the American public education system that everyone's been like traumatized by, that if it's under, at least when I was growing up, if it's under like a 65, then it's just a fail. Like you might as well have not even taken the test.
That's an F, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's an F. Yeah.
Of course, if you're into films enough, you can read some bad reviews, and sometimes a bad review really makes you want to see the movie. You're like, oh, they're explaining things I want to see, and they don't like it, but I probably will.
Well, and I've learned very much long ago, probably like 10 years ago at least, that I don't trust any of those score sites whatsoever, because almost every movie that I'll see, I'm like, oh my God, this why have I never heard of this movie before? This was like a phenomenal movie. And I'll go and look it up, and it's got like a 3 or a 4. Like they're basically rated next to like one of the movies that you guys probably end up watching. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
what is it, My Caddy?
Yeah, we just watched Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain. So we're looking up like because there's a Surf Ninjas, there's 3 other Three Ninja movies, and they all hover from 5 to 6.
Yeah.
So
totally, Surf Ninjas is nothing like Three Ninjas. That's almost sacrilege to conflate those two.
But they came out within a year of each other, so we checked the score on that as well.
It was a time, man. That was, I mean, I think everyone missed out if you didn't get to grow up where it was cool to be. Like a white kid that was about 13 that also like was into surfing and skateboards and ninjas. It was a very specific archetype that only existed for, I guess, a blip in time.
Right. Now, if you want to see
furries.
If you want to see the really insane version of that, you can look it up on YouTube. It's a Filipino movie, I think. Kung Fu Kids 2, which has young children doing dangerous stunts. Which
I'm already sold.
They always cut away in Three Ninjas or something, right? When it's going to be dangerous, because they do have kids on set, and it's hard to get stunt doubles for them. But yeah, this movie in the Philippines, they don't care.
They're doing the jobs that the Americans don't want to.
Yeah, I think when you search that title onto YouTube, you'll actually get like a tag along name or something. So, but you'll know what the full movie is on YouTube. But not great quality. But just it's one you just kind of scrub around and watch a few insane action scenes, right? But yeah, the whole point is just this one Three Ninjas movie has so much more hate than the others. The others are completely mid. And then everyone hates this one. It didn't seem to be quantifiably better or worse than the others in particular. I guess it's the 4th movie. It's a little run down. The worst movie on our list, according to score, 1.2. I think I mentioned Smolensk, which was like 3.5, but there was a big brouhaha in Poland last year, which made everyone like hate that movie again. So the score just plummeted in the course of a year. So that was a political reason it's got such a small score. Also, because it was a terrible movie. It did have that going for it too. But
they should turn it into like a crypto market somehow, so that like you can buy when a movie's low, knowing that maybe in 10 years people appreciate it more, and just see like your IMDb bucks grow or something. I don't know how it works.
Would not do that with Smolensk. If I were going to put my money on a movie for that, I'd probably go for Spice World. Because that's like 3.5.
You won't let this go, man. You were really you really like Spice World. Okay,
it's got some aliens in it. It's great. I saw it opening night. Yeah,
I've got some other completely random observations about the Heffalump movie. So it seems that they do cast some sort of magical spell at some point. So they've got this like occult magic built into it. Do you remember that? Can you even think of what I might be referring to when saying they're like casting spells and doing ceremonies?
I wrote, "We should all accept darkness?" ? I don't know.
Okay, well, that's something. That's more Jungian, but okay. No, when they're learning how to catch a Heffalump, they have to basically throw a lasso. But the most important part when they throw the lasso is they have to say, "In the name of the 100-acre wood, I capture you." And if they don't say it in that exact phrase, then they can't catch the Heffalump. I mean, this sounds like they're fishing for demonic entities somehow, and this is almost like Exorcist.
Oh, they can't solidify without the incantation, that sort of thing.
And it's a very specific incantation. Also, maybe on a weird tangent, but Rabbit gets tied up, and since these are Japanese animators drawing Rabbit tied up in rope, it almost has like I don't know if I'm pronouncing these right or if you know what these are, but kinbaku or shibari. You know what these are?
I've heard the second one. Yeah,
this is like the erotic form of tying somebody up in rope. And I mean, as soon as I saw Rabbit tied up, I was like, this is actually really well done compared to if I just was expecting them to throw some rabbit tied up in rope. Like they knew what they were doing when they tied Rabbit up.
Yeah, the American production, I feel like, would just have like a couple loops, with a couple.
No, this one had a lot of intent behind it. Like I don't know, someone went to town when they were tying Rabbit up, and I'm sure that there's probably some cells that didn't make it into the final production that are out on the black market somewhere.
That you'd think Rabbit would be the only one with the skill set to do that. Pooh's not going to be able to tie that. Piglet's not going to be able to tie that. Eeyore, no way. Maybe Kanga, which actually makes it seem dirty again.
It would make the most sense.
Yeah.
Let's see. Rue gets like really, really sleepy at some point. I was thinking that maybe this is him transitioning into this altered state, and then you can hear Kanga. Kanga is always got this, like, she's nice and she's benevolent, right? But she's always singing some weird song about like never grow up, or like I'll always be your mommy, like all of these things that makes it seem that she turns completely suicidal the second Rue goes off to college. Like she can't handle not being around her special little boy, and she does that in this movie again. And she's basically singing or telling him, "Don't grow up too fast, too soon." But then, as the camera pans out, this is a little bit dark. It's all just filled with World War I military planes, and then it's just like, damn, did Rue die in the war? And this is Kanga just like holding on to some ethereal thing? Or are they foreshadowing that after Rue grows up and leaves 100 Acre Wood, he just immediately gets drafted into World War I and dies in a plane?
A little known fact is that the Pink Floyd song Mother is actually sung by a grown-up Rue.
Is this true?
No, of course not.
Oh, I was man. I knew
That's
there
sung
was
by Roger Waters.
40% chance, but I really wanted that. I really wanted that to be true.
Well, if you listen to the song with that in mind, it'd probably be pretty amusing. Get away, Mom! I grew up.
The height of the xenophobia, I've made notes of like my favorite xenophobic sort of claims made in the Pooh movie, which I guess if you were reading the back of the VHS box or whatever, that might have piqued my interest more. It's like top 5 xenophobic phrases that you'll hear in this movie. Like, oh, okay, I guess we will rent this one for the family.
You could put any movie down any movie where you could rock it, you know? If it fits, do it.
They claim that heffalumps have a spiky tail. They'll steal all your honey and they'll eat your last crust, which I didn't realize that was such a grievous thing. I eat the last piece of crust all the time if no one else wants it. They'll stomp on your house so it's nothing but dust, because it rhymes with crust. I mean, that's the only reason they have that in there. And the worst part of all is they're different from us. Those are the actual lyrics to this song. So it's not that they'll cause ego death or stomp your house. It's not that they'll steal all your money, honey. But it's that they're different than you. That is the worst part of them. I can't think of a better way to phrase xenophobia. And Rue is the one that realizes, like, they've indoctrinated this young Rue into like their weird 100 Acre nationalism to such an extent that he understands, like, hate anyone that's different from us.
Well, I did write down Rabbit's quote, "We need traps everywhere." I think that was Rabbit who said that.
Rabbit, yeah. I mean, Rabbit would not help you too. If he saw you got caught in a trap, he'd like, you deserve that. I don't know how you got into that, but you deserve. In fact, I laid that trap for you.
Oh, and this is not my synchronistic viewing. It's not a hard lock, but I did just watch Planet of the Apes, so I was wondering if we were going to get Charlton Heston instead of a Heffalump in that cage. Looked very Ape City, you know, where you round up the humans into.
A Heston marathon would be pretty awesome.
Do you go all Heston, or you just go sci-fi genre Heston? How do you rock that one?
I would go all Heston just because I'm almost positive that I saw him host the Hollow Earth documentary at one point that wouldn't fit into any movie category, because it was just like, okay, I'm going to watch this weird documentary about Hollow Earth. Is that Charlton Heston hosting this? Okay, I am all in now.
Yeah. That's like, you know, it's like in the 70s, you can find the show In Search Of, where you have Spock telling you about, you know, unsolved mystery stuff. That's kind of fun.
Right, but he speaks with a little bit more authority for whatever reason. I don't believe Charlton Heston. Like, it's nothing about him personally, but he has this unreliable narrator quality about him that isn't the same in, I guess, like Leonard Nimoy.
Oh, if I'm going to recommend something to everyone, slowed. This is on YouTube. It's listed as Jonathan Frakes Beyond Belief, another in search of source. So Jonathan Frakes Beyond Belief clips played at half speed make him sound like a drunk dude at the bar. I'm going to plug that video for everyone because it's quite hysterical.
They call that chop and screw. I don't know if you ever heard that before.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
R.I.P. DJ Screw.
Anyway, it's pretty funny with because the questions he's asking just are amazing because they're the unsolved mysteries sort of questions, right? But that's the screw part, I guess. Okay, we screwed you because he's got a good speaking voice.
You mentioned the name game a little bit earlier. That was really annoying, but also I think I'm guilty of this too. I think anyone that has a dog or a cat or maybe even kids that plays this stupid name game, but like I'm embarrassed to even admit it, but I feel like everyone does some variation of this. Am I alone in this? Am I outing myself as
you might be outing yourself? Okay. I think I've always avoided name games myself.
It's not on purpose. It just kind of happens. But yeah, like my dog started getting like one nickname, and one nickname turned into 10, and 10 turned into like 50, and then the 50 turns into songs. And
50
it's all
makes him a god.
Stuff.
Isn't that how it works?
Well, what happens is that you come up with 50 names for your dog, and then you forget the original name. So now there's an ineffable name of dog.
Oh, I guess someone has to remember all 50 for you to be a god.
Well, those are the kingmakers of our culture.
Right. Name is no. At my work, we had too many Matt. So at one point in time, I've been there for 10 years. I've always gone by Matt at work. So we had Matt, Matthew, and Maddie for a while, just to try and distinguish the three people with the same name.
When I worked at Disney, for whatever reason, there was another person there named, I guess it's a common name, named Tom or Thomas. And instead of me being like Thomas and him Tommy or whatever, it was just T1 and T2. And I was T2 because I came there afterwards. It was kind of cool. It was like Terminator themed and stuff. But what was interesting, and I didn't even orchestrate this, is after he left and went and got some other job at another company, I just became T1. People like, I walked by one day and someone was like, "Yo, what's up, T1?" And I was just like, "Oh my God," like I literally just got promoted. Like, and it happened kind of, I don't think everyone got together in a room and was like, "Okay, well, T1's gone, so T2 is now T1." It just organically happened. It was one of the most like fascinating moments of my life.
Yeah. Moving down the list, did you have any? You said you were rando hitting now. I don't know if you hit all your randos.
The name game. So if anyone doesn't know what the name game is, just when you like repeat a name over and over and slowly change it bit by bit so that it rhymes. So the example they give is Lumpy Lumpty-dee, because his name is Lumpy. So they say Lumpy Lumpty-dee, never the same. And then they call Roo Ta-toodly-too, Boo Da Boodly Boo. So it's just like baby noises. But yeah, I guess I do this to my dog.
Well, yeah, my father loves to make up words, so that's
I mean, that's the name game. But you make up words while you're repeating somebody's name over and over again.
I try and Biff Tannen expressions as much as I can. You know, "Hey, are you ready, Frederick?" You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I had a cat named Frederick. It's not as fun to make name game with something like Frederick.
No, not at all.
Another follow-up to the magical incantation that they have to use to sort of exorcise this demon that is a Heffalump, that after Roo brings the Heffalump into 100 Acre Wood, even though the Heffalump can get out of the rope anytime he wants, and we kind of see that a few times, almost like Roger Rabbit style, but he can't either until it's funny, like Roger Rabbit, or until he's allowed to, and Roo explicitly stops what he's doing at one point and says, "You're not captured anymore." And at that point, I guess the magic force field that had captured the Heffalump is dissipated. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, I guess that's like the story of how does an elephant stay in the circus when he's just, a wooden pole and a rope? Like, why don't they just run off?
Well, and I guess the even more important is that this moment when Roo tells the Heffalump, "You're not captured anymore," they go from, okay, well, we were playing this game where like you capture me and I'm going with you, and as soon as the game is over, instead of Heffalump like, "Okay, what's the next game?" or we're like, "Hey, what are you doing, Roo?" He's just like, "I want my mom. Where's my mom? Where am I?" Like he starts freaking like the heck out, and it seems that it was like, okay, you're not captured by Roo anymore, but now you're in the Disney proxy. Congratulations. Like, welcome to this death spiral of Disney proxy, where you have been kidnapped from your home, separated from your mom, and now you're screaming for her and she's screaming for you. And it immediately takes sort of like a dark turn. Now you're like, oh my God, Rue really did just kidnap somebody. And we were all cheering along and dancing as it happened.
Is that the first Pooh Disney proxy? I feel like the standard one that we talk about doesn't really show up in Pooh until this point, if I'm remembering correctly.
Maybe, yeah. It might be the first explicitly where someone is kind of separated from their mom. I know Rue like wanders off at some point, but that's more of like a missing Rue thing, and then they find Rue, and then Piglet's missing. I think that was Piglet's big movie. But yeah, this is the first time when a child is like, "Oh my God, I want my mom. Where's my mom?" And the mom's trying to find the Heffalump too.
And at the tail end of the series too. I mean, this Pooh series, which they made a bunch of straight to video ones too. So if you are into Pooh, you can just keep doing this forever. There's Pooh's Grand Adventure, The Search for Christopher Robin, Seasons of Giving, Springtime with Rue. Those were all the ones that were not theatrically released.
Yeah, so if you meet someone in public at random, they're like, I watch exclusively Pooh movies 3 times a month. I'm all about Pooh.
Here's a weird thing. In Japan, everyone knows Pooh-san, right? Nobody knows anything about the 100 Acre Woods or the books. They haven't watched the movies much. I got an
Christopher Robin-san.
Not really, no. Like a lot of kids actually didn't know Tigger, or they recognized it, but they didn't know the name, Like they'd be, oh, Tiger. I'm like, no, it's Tigger. Or Tigger, what?
What about Piglet?
They don't really know, like maybe Piglet's on a t-shirt, and they may recognize Piglet, but they don't know that character's name is Piglet. They didn't watch any of the movies or anything. So that's a weird part of Japanese culture, where it's like, okay, that we got Pooh's Honey Hunt at Tokyo Disney and everyone loves it, but it doesn't really teach you the story of Pooh or anything. So a few years ago, people were going around in Kubrick t-shirts just because Uniqlo had a special on Kubrick t-shirts, but none of these kids like watch the movie. So they're wearing a Shining shirt, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great movie. Like, is this a movie? Yes.
Name one scene. Name one unsettling scene when a random prop just gets displaced or removed. Do it now.
Right, but it is interesting. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't been to the States for a while, but if you're wearing a shirt, you should be into the thing you're wearing.
No, that's kind of old at this point now.
Okay.
In fact, there's like a new trend in which you ironically wear like old band shirts that you might not even like. People wear like a Nirvana shirt and not actually listen to Nirvana just because it's like a retro thing to wear.
Right. Yeah, that's the case in Japan as well. But even when I don't know, like 10 years ago. Yeah. I felt like, when I was in university or something, you should be able to be like, I'm into the thing on my shirt. There's ironic shirts too, of course, but Japan, it's just like, yeah, like it's unlikely a person wearing a Nirvana shirt has ever listened to Nirvana.
Name one song.
Right. I can play them, man. Should we start wrapping this one up, or did you have something else? I think I have sputtered out everything I randomly wrote down.
I think for a movie aimed at 6-year-olds, we did remarkably well for breaking down. We had a couple cult classics. We talked about murder. We talked about psychedelic drugs and entities and MK Ultra mind control as we normally do. I don't know. I mean, what else can we put on this Heffalump movie?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think it's just a good place to really put under the microscope, because this is just the end of a certain era of Disney. From here, things change after it. This one
is depressing. That's really, really depressing, to be honest.
Well, we're going to see where it goes. So for those that are keeping track, next week is Valiant, a movie I know nothing about, but will by the time we do a podcast on it. So what's going on in your world? You got your cards. I think
all right. Well, I got something even bigger now. The new big thing that's going to be for the next month, and I don't know when I'm going to put this out, but you're putting it out. So every single day until I guess early December 11th or so, but every damn day, going live at 11 p.m. Eastern with my homie Donut, because we've been working on a comic book called The Illuminati Comic, and it breaks down the history of the Bavarian Illuminati Bohemian Grove, Skull and Bones, Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Jesuits, Alumbrados, like all of these names that you maybe have never even heard about. And that would actually be good because we've compiled all of the most important Illuminati related information from the 1700s to 2024. We even mentioned like Lady Gaga and Doja Cat. Everyone's in here. Like every single thing that you've ever heard about the Illuminati, we've pretty much captured it into a single comic book. And by the time you're done reading it, you will be as big of an expert as anyone else on the freaking internet talking about the Illuminati ever was. So that's been really special. So, and you can sign up for that at illuminaticomic.com, and it's going to drop on 11/11, which from time of recording, it's like 3.5 days from now. But if you're listening, even if you're listening to this in the future, you can still go to illuminaticomic.com and figure out how to get yourself a copy.
All right. On my end, I've been mentioning my other podcast. I'll throw out the Twilight Zone one is Time Enough podcast, and Films and Filth is the one we were referencing about IMDb ratings around here. So you can find those on your podcatchers. And like I said, we recently did a few Pixars, and we're surprisingly critical towards them. So if you want to hear that, I wrote trigger warning on the Coco one because people love that movie, right?
Until you rewatch it again, and then you're like, okay.
There's things that don't settle here. So yeah, if you want to hear that, and of course we'll be doing that in the far future. I am going to go off into the woods. I'm not scared of the woods. I want to go in the woods. I like the woods.
Are you going to go and put some Datura into your eyeballs?
My eyeballs are drying out. It's that season in Japan where everything starts drying out. I might have red eyes. I can't tell.
Learn about the full history of the Bavarian Illuminati. Adam Weishaupt, Alumbrados, Jesuits, Rosicrucians, Freemasons, and more. From the 18th century to modern day, we expose it all. That's right, it's the Illuminati comic from Donut and Paranoid American. Get yours now at illuminaticomic.com.
Paranoid. Yo. I scribble my life away, driven to write the page. Will it enlighten your brain? Give you the flight, my plane, paper the highs ablaze. Somewhat of an amazing feel when it's real to real. You will engage it. Your favorite, of course, the Lord of an arrangement. I gave you the proper results to hit the pavement. If they get emotional, hate maybe your language, a game, how they playing it well without Lakers. Evade them, whatever the cost, they are the shapeshift. Snakes get decapitated, met is the apex. Execution of flame you out, nuclear bomb distributed at war, rather gruesome for eyes to see. Max them out, then I light my trees. Blow it off in the face, you're despising me for what though? Calculated and rather cutthroat. Paranoid American must be all the blunt smoke for real. Lord, give me a day away, vacate. They wait around to hate whatever they say. Matters not in the least bit. We get heavy rotate when a beat hits, so thank us, you're welcome. Fuck the niggas for real, you're welcome. They ain't never had a deal, you're welcome. Man, they lacking appeal, you're welcome. Yet they doing it still, you're welcome.